Welcome to History What If, where we question the events that already happened. What really could have happened? Could we have changed the outcome? Before we begin, everything you're about to hear is based on historical research, facts, and records. The what-if scenarios are my own opinion and interpretation of events, designed to make you think, question, and explore history differently. This is not the official historical record. This is history, through a different lens. Today's question: what if tipping, the awkward, guilt-driven, percentage-based ritual we all secretly resent, had simply never become a thing? Let's go. Picture the most stressful 3 seconds of your day. You bought a coffee. One coffee. The barista spins the tablet around, and there it is. The screen. 20%? 25? 30? And the barista is watching you. Your heart rate spikes. You panic tap a button. You'll think about this choice for the rest of the day. Tipping used to be simple. You sat down, a waiter served you a whole meal, you left 15%. Done. But somewhere along the way, it escalated. Now the self-checkout machine is asking for a tip. You tipped the screen. There was no human. You tipped a robot out of guilt. We've reached a point where nobody actually knows the rules anymore. Do you tip on takeout? On a water bottle you grabbed yourself? At the place where you stood the entire time? Everyone's just guessing and quietly judging each other. So today, what if this whole anxiety-inducing system never existed at all? Because here's the thing, most of the world doesn't do this. In tons of countries, you just pay the price on the menu. The number you see is the number you pay. No math, no guilt, no tablet spinning toward you like a slot machine. So how did America end up here? The answer is genuinely ridiculous. Grab your receipt and your simmering low-grade resentment. We're pulling the thread on tipping. Here's the real history, and buckle up because it's pettier than you think. Tipping didn't start in America. It started in Europe, with aristocrats. Wealthy people would give a little extra coin to servants to show off how rich and generous they were. It was a flex. Tipping was invented as a humble brag. Wealthy Americans traveling in Europe picked up the habit and brought it home in the 1800s, partly, again, to look sophisticated and worldly. So tipping came to America as an imported status symbol. The original tippers were basically the 1800s version of a guy mentioning he just got back from Europe. But here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. And important. After slavery was abolished, some American businesses didn't want to actually pay newly freed black workers. So they used tipping as a loophole. Pay them little to nothing and let customers cover the wages through tips. Tipping in America has a genuinely dark root, and that's worth saying plainly. And that loophole basically never closed. It got baked into law. The US created something called the tipped minimum wage, a special, much lower minimum wage for tipped workers based on the assumption that tips will make up the difference. In some places, that base wage is barely a couple dollars an hour. The tips aren't a bonus, they're the actual paycheck. So that's the key thing to understand. In America, tipping isn't really optional generosity anymore. It's how a huge number of workers actually get paid. When you skip a tip, you're often not skipping a thank you, you're skipping someone's rent money, which is exactly why the whole system feels so heavy and guilt-soaked. And then technology made it so much worse. Those tablet checkout systems made it effortless for every business to add a tip prompt. So suddenly you're being asked to tip at the smoothie place, the bakery, the oil change, the place where a guy handed you a muffin. The system spread way beyond restaurants and the rules dissolved into chaos. This explosion even got a nickname, tipflation. Tip suggestions creeping up from 15% to 18% to 20% to 25%, showing up in places they never used to, until everyone's confused, mildly annoyed, and quietly resentful. Which brings us to the big question: what if none of this ever happened? So let's really sit in the problem, because the current system is a mess for literally everyone involved. Customers are confused and guilt-tripped, workers have unstable, unpredictable income that depends on strangers' moods, and nobody actually agrees on what the rules are. It's a system that somehow makes everyone unhappy at once. Think about how strange it is. Your server could be amazing, but if the kitchen's slow, you might tip less, punishing them for something they didn't do. Or you tip the same 20% whether the service was incredible or terrible, because confrontation is scary. The tipping rewards good service idea mostly doesn't even work. And the worker side is genuinely rough. Imagine your paycheck depending on how generous random strangers feel that day. A slow Tuesday isn't just boring, it's a bad paycheck. Bad weather keeps people home, your rent gets harder. That instability is stressful in a way most salaried people never have to think about. Meanwhile, the business owner kinda loves the current setup if we're honest. Why? Because tipping lets them advertise lower menu prices while customers cover a chunk of the wages. The real cost of your meal is hidden until the tip screen appears. It's a magic trick where the bill is smaller until it isn't. So the current system survives because it quietly benefits the people who set the prices, while shifting the awkwardness and the cost onto you and the worker. It's less a tradition and more a habit nobody can figure out how to escape, which makes the what if genuinely fascinating. What if we'd never gotten stuck here? Here's what makes this a great what if. Tipping isn't a law of nature. It's a habit that one country leaned into way harder than everyone else, which means there's a whole alternate timeline sitting right there where America did what most of the planet does. Just put the real price on the menu and pay people a wage. Let's go visit it. In this timeline, the price on the menu is the price you pay. Workers get a real, stable hourly wage. The tip screen does not exist. Nobody does percentage math after dinner. And the phrase, "do we tip here?" has never once been spoken aloud. Sounds like paradise, right? Well, mostly. There's a catch. There's always a catch. So what would actually change if tipping had never existed? Some of it is wonderful, some of it is surprising, and one part of it might genuinely annoy you. Let's pull the thread and find out. Change number 1, the obvious good one. The tip screen never gets invented. That moment of panic when the tablet spins toward you, gone forever. You buy a coffee, you pay for a coffee, you leave. Your heart rate stays normal. An entire category of modern anxiety simply never exists. Beautiful. Change number 2, prices look higher, but you pay the same. This is the catch. In the no tipping timeline, that $15 burger is listed as $18 because the wage is baked into the price. People freak out at the higher menu number, even though it's the exact same total they'd have paid with a tip. We are weirdly bad at math when feelings are involved. And that's actually the single biggest reason America is stuck with tipping. Businesses know that a menu of lower prices plus a guilt tip feels cheaper than an honest higher price, even when the total is identical. We'd rather be tricked into the same number than told the truth up front. Humans are gloriously irrational. So let's live in the no tipping timeline for a bit. Change 3. Workers get a stable, predictable paycheck. No more, I made $200 on Friday and $40 on Tuesday. Just a steady wage you can actually budget around, sign a lease with, and plan a life on. For a lot of service workers, that stability alone would be life-changing. Change 4. The awkward social dance disappears entirely. No more frantically calculating 20% of $46.50 while everyone waits. No more "did I tip enough?" spiraling on the drive home. No more splitting a bill and arguing about whose share of the tip is whose. An entire genre of friendship-ending math is just gone. Change 5, and this one's funny, tourists would stop accidentally insulting each other across the planet. Right now, Americans go abroad and over-tip and confuse everyone, while visitors come to America, tip nothing like back home, and accidentally stiff a worker who needed it. No tipping means no international tipping incidents. World peace, one receipt at a time. But here's the twist, the surprising downside. Remember those workers at busy, high-end restaurants who make really good money on tips? Some of them would actually earn less on a flat wage. The best servers at the busiest spots can out-earn a fixed salary. So abolish tipping isn't a clean win for everyone. Some workers genuinely like the current system. It's complicated. So welcome to the no tipping timeline. It's calmer, more honest, less anxious, but not a flawless utopia. It's a trade-off like most things. Let's keep exploring what this world actually feels like to live in. Funniest ripple effect. An entire vocabulary of stress just never enters the language. What's the tip etiquette here? Is 18% an insult? Do I tip the attendant? Why is the tablet asking me? None of these phrases exist. People in this timeline would not understand your tipping anxiety. You'd have to explain it like a weird dream. The jobs would change too. Service work might attract different people if it paid a guaranteed livable wage instead of a gamble. Some argue service quality would drop without tips as motivation. But funny thing, in most no-tipping countries, the service is totally fine. Turns out, paying people a real wage works surprisingly well. Who knew? And businesses would have to be honest about prices, which is honestly a big shift. The number on the menu would be the real number. No hidden wage costs sneaking up on you at the end. Sticker shock at first, sure, but at least you'd know what you're paying before you eat, instead of getting ambushed by a tablet after. There's a genuinely sweet upside here too. The relationship between you and the person serving you changes. Right now, there's this weird money tension baked into every interaction. Without it, it's just Two people, one doing a job, no awkward financial transaction hanging in the air. A small thing, but a nicer vibe. There's a real lesson buried in this one. Tipping shows how a temporary habit can quietly harden into a tradition that nobody actually chose and everybody complains about. We act like it's some sacred custom, but it's really just a leftover that got stuck. A lot of the way things are is exactly like that. Accidental, then permanent. And here's the thing, this isn't even fully hypothetical. Some restaurants right now are experimenting with no tipping models, higher menu prices, real wages, no tip line. Some succeed, some struggle because customers see the higher prices and bolt to the cheaper looking place next door. The experiment is happening live and the results are messy. Which reveals the real villain of the whole story. It's not greedy waiters or cheap customers, it's the trap. Any one restaurant that raises prices to ditch tipping looks expensive next to the one still hiding the cost. So nobody wants to go first. Everyone's stuck in a system they'd individually love to leave. So here's the domino effect of never having tipping. No tip culture leads to honest menu prices, leads to stable wages, leads to no tip screens, leads to no tipflation, leads to and a whole society that never developed that low-grade financial anxiety every time a tablet appears. One missing habit and the entire modern checkout experience is calmer. Compare that to our actual timeline where the dominoes fell the other way, imported a rich person flex, used it as a wage loophole, baked it into law, then handed everyone tablets, and now we're all just vibrating with mild anxiety at every coffee shop. The same small choices, fallen differently, gave us two completely different daily lives. Will we ever actually escape tipping? Maybe, slowly. The tablet-driven tipflation has gotten so over the top that people are pushing back harder than ever. When a self-checkout machine asks for 25%, something in the public brain finally snapped. Change usually comes when a system gets so absurd it embarrasses itself. Tipping might be getting there. Now picture our hero. A single tip jar, showing up to claim its place as a beloved American tradition. And history goes, buddy, you started as a rich guy's flex, became a wage loophole, and now you're on a tablet at a vending machine. You're not a tradition, you're a glitch that everybody got used to. And here's the kicker, even if we abolish tipping tomorrow, the transition would be chaos for a while. Half of people would still try to tip out of pure muscle memory. Servers wouldn't know how to react. There'd be a confusing year where nobody's sure if the old rules or the new rules apply. Change is messy even when it's good. But eventually, in the no-tipping timeline, a whole generation grows up never knowing the tablet spin panic. They'd hear about tipping anxiety the way we hear about rotary phones. A quaint, baffling thing the olds had to deal with. You did math after every meal and felt guilt? That's so sad, Grandpa. And that's the brain melter. Something that controls a small, stressful part of your daily life, tipping, isn't ancient or inevitable. It's a chain of small, petty, accidental choices that hardened into a system. Pull one thread near the start, and your entire relationship with every receipt is different. History is built out of stuff this small. Meanwhile, in our actual reality, the tablets keep spinning, the percentages keep creeping, and we all keep doing the little anxious dance. The difference between our world and the calm one might just be a few rich guys 200 years ago deciding to show off with spare change. Thanks, guys. Really, great work. And here's the genuinely useful takeaway, no jokes. Tipping in America right now is how a lot of people pay their rent. So while the system is absurd, the workers in it aren't the problem. They're stuck in it same as you. Until it changes, tipping fairly is just being decent to someone whose paycheck depends on it. The system's silly, kindness isn't. So let's bring it home. Tipping was never some noble tradition. It started as a rich person flex, became a way to avoid paying wages, got locked into law, and then tablets turned it into the anxiety-ridden, percentage-creeping monster we deal with today. Remove it from history and your every receipt gets a whole lot calmer. It took imported snobbery, a wage loophole, some questionable laws, and a tablet revolution to build the system we've got. Long chain of small choices. And the wild part is, a different timeline where we just put the price on the menu was always sitting right there. Most of the planet's living in it, calmly. And the real takeaway? The things that stress you out every single day aren't always big or ancient. Sometimes they're just habits that got stuck. Small accidents that hardened into the way it is. The good news is, habits can change. Even the ones with a tablet and a guilt trip attached. So next time a tablet spins toward you and your heart rate jumps, just remember, this whole thing started with a few show-offs 2 centuries ago, and most of the world never even caught the bug. You're allowed to find it ridiculous, because it kind of is. And that's what if tipping was never a thing. The most relatable what if we've done yet. If this made you feel seen at the coffee counter, smash subscribe, because next week we pull another thread and break history all over again. I'll see you in the next one. What if?